Welcome to Mystic Mondays, your dose of magic from the mystical realms where ancient wisdom meets modern day magic, and spiritual insights from the hearth of the Crystal Coven Mystic Cottage. In each episode, we'll guide you through a journey of spiritual insights, moonlit musings, and enchanted discussions on all things mystical, magical, and metaphysical. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or a curious seeker, or simply looking to start your week with a little extra enchantment, you're in the right place. So stir the cauldron, light your candles, brew some tea, and step into the sacred circle where the magic begins. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to Mystic Mondays from the hearth of the Crystal Coven Mystic Cottage. I'm your host, Shannon, and I'm so glad that you chose to spend some time with me. For in this episode, I want to talk about something that sounds simple on the surface, but can become one of the most difficult journeys we ever have to take. And that's living in our truth and walking our path. Not your neighbor's path, not your family's expectations, not the version of yourself that other people are comfortable with, but your path, your truth. And if we're being honest, many of us spend years wandering away from the path before we ever learn to walk toward it. So settle in with a cup of tea, light a candle if you can, because this conversation isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you already are. Most of us begin life walking roads that were chosen for us. We were taught what success should look like. We were told what happiness should feel like. We were told how we should dress, act, believe, worship, work, love, and even dream. Some of those lessons help us. Some of them protect us. And some of them quickly pull us further and further away from ourselves. But there's a challenge, and that is when we spend enough years following expectations, we can forget the sound of our own voice. You begin making decisions based upon approval instead of alignment. You begin asking, what will they think? Instead of, is this right for me? You start living a life out of obligation instead of authenticity, and eventually something begins to feel off. You may have a good life. You may have responsibilities. You may even have accomplishments. But something inside whispers, this isn't all of me. And it's in that whisper the journey home begins. One of the greatest misconceptions about living your truth is that it feels good all the time. Well, it doesn't. Sometimes truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes truth asks you to release relationships you've outgrown. Sometimes truth asks you to stop shrinking yourself. Sometimes truth asks you to admit that you've been pretending. And that's difficult because the truth usually costs us something. It may cost approval. It may cost comfort. It may cost certainty. But the alternative is often far more expensive. The alternative is spending years living a life that doesn't belong to you. A life that looks right from the outside but feels empty on the inside. Truth can be painful, but living a lie slowly drains the spirit and the soul. One of the most powerful lessons that I've learned is that every path looks different. Your spiritual journey won't look like mine. My business journey won't look like yours. Your healing won't happen in the way that someone else's did. And that's okay, because nature teaches us that this is beautiful. No two trees grow exactly the same. No two rivers take the same route. And no two wildflowers bloom exactly the same way. But yet somehow, we expect human beings to follow an identical blueprint. We are comparing ourselves constantly. We are comparing our success, our relationships, our spirituality, our healing, our timelines, and that comparison becomes a thief. It steals joy. It steals confidence. It steals momentum. The moment you begin comparing your path to someone else, you stop seeing the beauty of your own. Living authentically requires courage, not the dramatic kind, not the heroic movie kind, the everyday kind. The kind of courage to say, this is who I am. The courage to say, this matters to me. The courage to pursue a dream that others don't understand. The courage to be visible. Many people spend years hiding pieces of themselves because they fear rejection. Maybe you've done that. Maybe you're hiding your spiritual beliefs. Maybe you're hiding your creativity. Maybe you're hiding your intelligence. Maybe you're hiding your magic. Because somewhere along the way you learned that being fully seen felt unsafe. But here's something worth remembering. The people who are meant for you can only find the real you. They cannot connect with the mask. They cannot connect with the performance. They can only connect with your truth. People often ask, what is my purpose? And then expect a grand revelation, a lightning bolt, a divine message, a single answer that explains everything. But purpose is often much simpler than that. Purpose is usually found in the next right step, not the entire staircase, but the next step, the next conversation, the next act of courage, the next act of service, the next choice that aligns with who you truly are. Purpose isn't always one thing. Sometimes purpose evolves. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes it expands. Your purpose at 20 may not be your purpose at 50. And that's not failure. That's actually growth. One thing we don't talk about enough is that life has seasons. There are seasons of growth, seasons of rest, seasons of grief, seasons of rebuilding, seasons of transformation. The problem is that many people judge themselves for being in a winter. They think that they should always be blooming, always producing, always succeeding. But nature doesn't work that way, and neither do we. Sometimes our path requires stillness. Sometimes our path requires healing. Sometimes our path requires letting go. And many of us need to remember not every season is meant for harvesting. Some seasons are meant for becoming. Perhaps one of the hardest things about walking your path is learning to trust yourself. Many people have spent years outsourcing their wisdom, looking to everyone else for answers, waiting for permission, waiting for validation, and waiting for clarity. But eventually there comes a moment when people have to trust what their soul already knows, not because they have all the answers, but because no one else can walk their road for them. Your intuition matters. Your experiences matter. Your wisdom matters, and your voice matters. You don't need someone else's approval to live the life that feels true. You only need enough courage to take the next step. When you begin living in alignment with your truth, something shifts. Life doesn't become perfect. Problems don't disappear. Challenges will still come. But there's a different quality to your experiences. You stop fighting yourself. You stop forcing yourself into spaces where you don't belong. You stop carrying expectations that were never yours, and you begin to move with greater clarity, greater confidence, greater peace. Not because life has changed, but because you did. Alignment is powerful magic. It creates momentum. It creates authenticity. It creates freedom. Now, with one final stir of the cauldron, I want to leave you with a question. Not a question for your mind, but a question for your spirit and your soul. Where in your life are you being called to be more honest with yourself? not with anyone else, just yourself. Where are you being asked to stop shrinking? Where are you being asked to trust yourself? Where are you being invited to walk your own road instead of someone else's, or a road that had been previously chose for you? You do not need to have every answer. You do not need to have an entire map. You only need to take the next step. For every path is walked one step at a time, and every truth is lived one choice at a time. Until next time, may your steps be steady, may your heart be brave, may your spirit remain wild, and may you always remember that the path you are meant to walk is the one that brings you closer to yourself. Blessed be.
Thank you for joining us in the sacred space of Mystic Mondays. May the insights shared today illuminate your path and bring harmony to your soul. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow, subscribe, and connect with us at the Crystal Coven Mystic Cottage. You can find us on several social media platforms as well as Patreon, where the magic never ends. Just look for the Crystal Coven and Salem the Shop Cat in the logo, or check out the show notes for more information. Until next time, stay mystical, stay magical, and trust in the universe. Blessed be.